people probably wonder why I call myself a clown and all that shit. Like back in the day, like around here, when you say somebody was a clown, like back in the 90s and all that shit or whatever, like the late 90s, all that shit, that nigga, he a clown, he clown. That wasn't like a term used to talk down about nobody. Saying somebody was a clown, like back then, it meant them niggas was fucking, they didn't give a shit. They ain't give a fuck. They was about whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like they was a fool with it. You know what I'm saying? Like they was nuts. They was, you know what I'm saying? They didn't give a shit about what nobody thought. They was with whatever you was with. That was, when you say somebody was clowning or somebody be clowning or somebody was a clown, that's what it meant here. When I say clown life, nigga, that's what I mean. A lot of people done seen me hashtag clown life, nigga, that's what I mean. But I still did my own thing. I didn't give a fuck about if you thought I should do certain things or what you thought about what I did. And that wasn't gonna make me change what I was doing. I was still gonna push forward. I was still gonna be me. I was probably still gonna have a temper. I was still gonna make these crazy ass songs. I was still gonna make these crazy ass beats. I was still gonna do shit that was outside of the box, nigga. Clown with a K. Hope that explains that.
What you're about to experience right now is a true Hollywood story. The first 15 years of Green Eye Joker's life. Wanna know how I got these scars?
We're not gonna discuss the fact that I'm out here looking like a fat ass basketball ninja. God damn. For me, that's how the shit started. Like, I was probably like in probably like the 4th grade. I was on my way to school one morning. And I spit that shit like for the people that was on the little bus with me or whatever, like the other little kids and shit. And I'm like, oh, okay, I see. It was 2 verses, like 2 verses that I had written in my head. None of that shit ever touched paper. I lived all over North Dallas or whatever, but Hamilton Park raised me, so I mean that's what that is. We were like 4 houses deep with family in Hamilton Park. You know what I'm saying? I had like a lot of family out there, so. I had the best of both worlds, man. I'd never sit up there and be like, oh man, I came from absolutely nothing. You know, I came from, you know what I'm saying? I never put myself, I had the best of both worlds. My dad didn't have shit. He didn't hardly have no money. One half of my family didn't have no money. And the other half, you know, I had my grandmother and grandfather, they made some good money. Even though me and my dad was always broke and shit like that. You know, my grandmother spoiled me. You know what I'm saying? It was just me and my dad. We was the ones living in the hood and in the fucked up ass areas over there off of Overton and all that shit in the cliff and all that. Over there off of Ferguson and shit. You know, getting outdoors and shit kicked in. My dad got his car stolen. They found it down the street by the damn Sonic and shit. I lived a conflicting life. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was a lot of shit that happened in my lifetime. You know what I'm saying? If you listen to anything that I've done, you know what I'm saying, you would know about my mother being murdered, you know what I'm saying, and shit like that. When I was 12. I think music and all that shit was probably also kind of a therapy for me, outlet, you know what I'm saying, for me. But I never sit there and be like, oh man, I had to sleep on the floor and, you know what I'm saying, yeah, I had to, you know what I'm saying, we done had times where it was, you know, rats running through our kitchen and all that type of shit when I was a baby. And all that type of shit, but I'm not gonna just focus on that. I would never just focus on that because that's not all there was to my life, man. I had 2 worlds that I lived, kind of. Music, period, wasn't never really my main goal. It was always drawing. Anybody that knew me knew that I could draw. That was kind of what I was known for. It wasn't until about the 6th grade that I started really thinking that I could actually rap, like for real if I wanted to. Remember the niggas used to be standing around in a circle rapping and shit, and I used to be part of the circle, but I would never go. They be like, go ahead and rap, Wallace, go ahead and rap, Wallace. I did like this shit. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? But it wasn't, you know, I don't think I was necessarily scared to rap. I just didn't, you know what I'm saying? I was listening to everybody else soaking up everything, but I had dope. I was a class clown all through school. Wasn't shy in class, wasn't shy. at school really like that. But I was a class clown all through school. I ain't gonna lie, I used to be shy when it came to females. Like, through elementary and all that shit. Even in junior high, I was shy when it came to females, you know what I'm saying? And you wouldn't be able to tell that shit now. You know what I'm saying? I always had a girlfriend, but I was always, I was always a little bit shy when it came to females, like back when I was little, when I was younger. I was pretty notorious for getting into it with teachers and making teachers cry, and it wasn't on purpose. It was just, I was just mischievous and shit. Class clown, always doing some shit. However, I wouldn't even say I was always just trying to entertain myself. You know what I'm saying? That's mainly what it was. It was like I was always trying to keep myself from being bored. And so, from trying to keep myself from being bored, you know, I was entertaining the class and pissing the teachers off. You know what I'm saying? So, the whole class clown thing, and that shit was real. You know what I'm saying? That was a real issue of mine. It kept me in the principal's office a lot. They kept calling my dad about that shit a lot. But I was a pretty good kid outside of all of that. You know what I'm saying? I was cool. You know, I was real sneaky. I just did sneaky shit. You know what I'm saying? I used to take shit to the extreme all the time. Like my imagination used to be so damn wild. So I was always taking shit to the extreme. You know what I'm saying? Like any games that we played, I always had to one up what everybody else was doing. That's always been my mentality. My mentality has always been to just one up everybody. You know what I'm saying? Like take what they're doing and then twist it and twist it into my favor. So yeah, you can pretty much realize if you ever heard any of my music, you can pretty much know that my style and my sense of humor about shit is pretty damn outrageous. And so me and my cousin, King Supreme, we were always doing like little mixtapes and stuff when we were like little kids, like in elementary. Like we were doing that shit before it was cool. Like we were just, I remember we had like a Casio keyboard. My dad had got it from my aunt, so I started using it. And it just had like a whole bunch of pre-recorded, you know, back in the day, it had a whole bunch of pre-recorded beats on the Casio. So we would just go in there and we would just be rapping and singing over all these like little beats and shit that was on the keyboard, like all these little pre-recorded songs that was on there. And we would make cassette tapes like all the time. We called ourselves WBAB, and we were just doing that shit just really for us, you know what I'm saying, for our listening, you know, for our listening pleasure, pretty much. No, it was never supposed to be something that we did for anybody else. It was like an inside thing, like an inside joke type of thing. Like we would just make the dumbest songs we could possibly think of to make. And, you know, so that's what we used to do, like a lot. Yeah, so I probably made my first beat when I was like 11 years old. I remember I was like just messing around with my dad's beat machine, and I think he was like, I don't know, I did something. I was you know, just messing around with it, made this beat. It's like I put, it was crazy, but it was like I had put every instrument that I could possibly put in that bitch. I had put it in that one beat. Every instrument that I could find on the damn beat machine, I was, you know, putting it in there. And I had never really used no beat machine before. I ain't never did none of that. Like I said, this is at like 11 years old. Did that but I always been kind of good with it. But, you know, so I had the beat. And I let my dad, Dad, listen to this. And he listened to the beat. And he pulled out his bass guitar because he played bass guitar. I had like my little tape recorder. You know what I'm saying? And I recorded my dad playing the bass to my beat or whatever. And I remember being impressed as hell, like, damn, man, like, that was the first time I ever heard something that sounded like a complete produced song put together that, you know what I'm saying, that had something to do with beat, you know what I'm saying? Like, I made a beat and somebody played some actual music over it. that was probably the first song that I can say that I guess I produced, or the first beat I produced or whatever, and was doing it ever since. But I wasn't doing it heavily. I didn't really start like just cranking out beats until I got into high school. My dad had bought a Roland XP50, right? And he was using it, you know what I'm saying? My dad was always, he used to be in the studio. He used to be at his friend's house, and we had a lot of friends, and my dad had a lot of friends that was into music. Like most of the people that he was around a lot of the time, they were music people, they were musicians and engineers and people like that. So singers and shit. So I was around that shit all my life. You know what I'm talking about? I was always around that. My dad, he recorded some songs on tape or whatever, and his thing, he was going around letting everybody hear it and all this shit. And I used to always be impressed, like, damn, man, you got a song, you going around letting people hear it. You know what I'm saying? That's awesome. Now, mind you, all I had did from, up until this point was mess with the little beat machine that he had. That's all I ever did up to this point. You know what I'm saying? So I would always say, hey man, I would play with the keyboard, like, hey, put it on the drums for me. Put it to where I can get on the drums. So he'll mess with the settings and then put it to where I can get on the drums. So then I'd be making beats. You know what I'm saying? And I got better at just making beats, you know what I'm saying, with the drum kits and all that type of stuff. That's all I wanted to do was mess with the drum kits on there. I ain't mess with nothing else. You know what I'm talking about? So then he got to a point where I was like, all right, shit, I'm finna start making some real beats. And then I'm just gonna have my dad come back and then play whatever keys I want to play. So I would make a beat, and then I would call my dad and be like, hey, I would go to my dad's room and be like, hey man, can you play such and such for me? And at first he was like, yeah, all right. And I would hum to him what I wanted him to play over the beat. You know what I'm saying? I would do it with my mouth or whatever. And so then he would play that. You know what I'm saying? And, he took his time, did it, blah, blah, blah. All the little musical parts. Then he would go. But then this became like an everyday damn thing. So it made no difference what time of night it was, what time of day. If my dad was at the house while I was making a beat, hey dad, I need you to come play this. And finally, like, God damn, man. He started getting, I guess he's trying to get frustrated with me because I'm asking him to come play this. Like, yes, man, you do music, come on. I wasn't thinking that he didn't feel like doing that shit every damn hour of the day. Like, this was probably, I may have been like 15 or 16 at this point. You know what I'm saying? So I was already, at this point, I was good at making beats. Like, I was good at making actual drum patterns. But at this point, I was not playing any kind of keys. I wasn't doing nothing like that. Not at this point. I used to probably mess around with it, but I never played any keys that I would consider good enough for me. My dad eventually like, damn, why don't you just play shit piece by piece? Just put it together. You ain't gotta be no keyboardist. You ain't gotta be none of that shit. Just put the shit together. Do it piece by piece. So eventually, my dad finally said, no, I'm tired of getting up at night out of my bed to come play shit for you over your beat. When he basically said that, I was mad as hell. Like, damn, man, what am I supposed to do now? But I took his advice and started putting shit together piece by piece. And then from doing that helped me to learn how to actually play some keys a little bit or whatever. I'm still not on no Beethoven type shit or whatever, but I mean, whatever. I was able to start actually putting songs together. I'm glad my dad did that. I'm glad he did, because once he did that, my shit sounded better when I did everything versus when I did some things and then he did the other shit. Like, it sounded way better because I was able to throw more stuff. I knew what extra shit I wanted to put on top of my beat. You know what I'm saying? So when he told me to do that, then I was off and running on that. I was off and running with the production at that point. At that point, it wasn't gonna be no stopping me, because that was more fun to me than actually rapping at that point. Back then, if you was trash, dog, you heard about it, and that made you stop rapping. That's what I'm saying. In school, like in junior high, like I said, it was a circle of us rapping, but it wasn't a whole lot of niggas in junior high rapping. You didn't see, it was a handful of us that was actually rapping. I mean, literally a handful, like that same circle of dudes that you would see out there in front of Forest Meadow in the morning rapping. It was only like about 5 or 6 of us, if that. I was probably the only nigga, like I said, in the circle that wasn't rapping, that wasn't actually spitting when they was telling me to go. But I was pretty much one of the coldest niggas out in that circle. They didn't know it. They didn't know it. You know what I'm saying? Hell, maybe subconsciously, I didn't know that shit either. I don't know. I was really focused on the music stuff because people had started kind of, you know, hearing me rap. Back then, people was like, oh, that's Twister. He look like Twister. He be rapping fast and all that. Cause that's what I was doing. Like back in the day, if you didn't rap fast, I wasn't listening to your shit, man. I wasn't jamming your shit. You wasn't rapping fast. So back in the day, it was Bone Thugs and Harmony and Crucial Conflict and Twister. So anybody that was just on that type of shit. And it wasn't until Master P dropped that True album. That's when I started listening to rappers that rap slow. He was the one that made me stop listening to just one type of rapper. You know what I'm saying? So I'm moving up in high school, you know what I'm saying? And all I'm doing is making beats and drawing. I'm making beats and drawing. I'm just doing a lot of that type of shit. And I'm putting like all my beats and shit, I'm putting it all like on cassette tapes. I'm recording all my beats and shit. So by the time I hit 17, you know what I'm saying? Then that's when I started trying to bring other niggas on to what I was doing, or linking up with other niggas or whatever. They got my cousin we started doing some real songs and shit. And I was real big on just people just being, I loved having a variety of type, like a different variety of rappers on my shit. So I was real big on that. Like, bring whatever you bring to the table. Bring that shit. I'm gonna try to I'm gonna try to help you, you know what I'm saying, really spit to your best ability, but bring whatever you bring to the table. That's cool. So me and my cousin, we pretty much linked up, and we formed the Killer Clowns, the Killer Clown clique. I used to call it the Black KKK. But yeah, we formed that little group, and at that point, it was just like me and him were just making random ass songs. Then I linked up with my homegirl, Shortay, and I called her. I had a song called Ice Cream Truck. I made like about 3 or 4 different versions of this song, Ice Cream Truck. So I called her the first lady of the Ice Cream Truck. That was my dog from way back, at least my senior year. I think it's when I had met her. And we just met at work. And I heard her rap, and I'm like, oh, she cold. And she was like, it was kind of like me and her had like a little competition. It was like an underlying rivalry, but we was a clique though. And so I started, linking up with like just other local niggas that was trying to just some homeboys and shit, and created like little different groups. It was like every time I got a group together, it would splinter. It would break apart, and I ended up linking up with some other dudes, and then that group would splinter and break apart. Then link up with another group of dudes, and then that would splinter and break apart. Once I decided that I wasn't gonna be able to be in no group, I realized that I needed to set myself apart from everybody else. I realized that was an important part of me being Joker. You know what I'm talking about? So I was like, all right. I had a few rules for myself, and this was all in an effort to set me apart. I used to try to dress kind of flashy or whatever. I was a dude, and I would have like the rings and shit, especially after I graduated. I would have like multiple rings, bracelet, watch, 2 chains. I'm not saying I was the first one to wear 2 chains and shit, but that's what I was doing. I would have like all that flashy ass shit, and at one point I had like 3 holes in each ear. Like I was just really old sparkly ass type nigga. It was fucking weird, bro. Like back in my jean jacket days and shit. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, just being extra sparkly and shit. But a few rules that I had for myself. My number one rule, be different. do whatever you can to stand apart. You know what I'm saying? Just be your own person. The second rule, don't jump on songs talking about money. Don't be talking about how rich you are and all that old goofy ass shit. A lot of niggas was doing that back then. That was the play. That was the move back then, was to just pretend like you was rich. So I told myself that I wouldn't do that. And in fact, I actually made a song called Brokest Nigga on the Block. Cause I thought it was funny. I said, shit, let me make an anti-rich song. Let me make an anti-baller song. Because all you was hearing was baller shit. And I'm like, man, let me make something that's different. So I made Brokest Nigga on the Block. Hilarious song. Dope ass beat. My other rule that I had was don't jump on songs saying that you did some shit that you didn't do. Like as far as I was more specific with this. It had that I couldn't be on the song rapping about going to prison or being in and out of prison. You wasn't gonna find me rapping on songs about being the biggest dope dealer in Dallas and shit. You wasn't gonna hear me do none of that shit if I, on one of my projects. However, before I actually started trying to work on a project, I was rapping about all kind of shit like that. I wasn't rapping about being in and out of prison or shit like that, but I was rapping about all kind of shit, like being rich and all that shit. I was doing that, you may have heard me on a verse on somebody else's shit, you know what I'm saying, way before, when I was younger, like younger. But once I started hitting, a certain age, 19, 20, I wasn't rapping about no shit like that. Before I started working on my own personal shit, I was gonna follow the rules that I set for myself. You know what I'm saying? Those were my major rules for myself.